Pack your bags because Moana is taking everyone on a brand new open sea adventure. The first trailer for the movie just dropped and it's packed with secrets. Did you manage to spot all the Easter eggs in the Moana live action? If you think this movie won't stay very faithful to the original animated film, you're completely wrong. At one moment in the trailer, we can see Maui in the form of a beetle. Right after that, he returns to his human form, and we can see the hook covered in drawings that tell the stories of the demigod. And there in the background is the reason for this entire story, the heart of Te Fiti, which Maui steals in this scene. Incredible, right? It looks so much like the animation that we're sure everyone will get emotional. But this is just the beginning. You know what's starting. It's another awesome Cinewave! Still talking about Maui's theft scene, there's a moment showing the demigod in his eagle form approaching Te Fiti's island. If you pay close attention, you can notice that the island has the shape of a woman. Anyone who wasn't paying attention probably missed it, but this island seems to have 3 mountains, and the smallest one is definitely Te Fiti's face while she sleeps. And if you look even closer, you'll see that in the same shot, there's a green point with a faint glowing light in the center of the island, right on the middle mountain. And that is the heart of Te Fiti. In other words, this scene is from the beginning of the movie, when the protagonist's grandmother tells the story of when Maui made his biggest mistake. A little later in the trailer, we get a glimpse of one of the most emotional scenes in the film. It's the moment when Moana is sailing alongside the spirits of her people. On her boat, we see the heroine, and behind her, the spirit of her grandmother, convincing her granddaughter that she really is the one chosen by the ocean. This scene is almost identical to the one in the original animation, but not everything is exactly the same. The live action made a few changes that we can already see in the trailer. You know that in order to return the heart to Te Fiti, Maui needs to retrieve the hook that's with Tamatoa, that giant crab. And this monster is in a place called Lalotai, the realm of monsters. In the animation, the entrance is at the top of a lone rock in the middle of the ocean, but in the live action, it seems the entrance is inside a forest. Another change happens when our protagonist is chosen by the ocean. You might remember that Moana was chosen when she was still a small child. She must have been around 2 or 3 years old when the sea decided she would be the chosen one. But in the live action, it will be different. The girl who approaches the ocean is older, meaning the protagonist's age will change a bit. This is the moment when we see the famous scene where the ocean shows the protagonist that it is alive. It opens a path so the girl can get closer. This is when the ocean chooses Moana and gives her the heart of Te Fiti. This is also when we see the shell. Everyone who watched the original movie knows exactly what that means. The ocean lures Moana with a shell, and the girl approaches the water while her grandmother secretly watches from somewhere in the forest. This scene is going to be beautiful on the big screen. We're already feeling the excitement. We only see the Moana who will cross the ocean at the very end of the trailer. The actress playing our ocean princess is Catherine Lagaaya, and she is 18 years old today. Here we can notice a few differences. This version of Moana doesn't have hair as curly, and the clothes look very similar to the original, but in the live action, her outfit is darker, which makes total sense because in this movie, the protagonist will get wet constantly, and they need clothing that isn't too light in color. Do you prefer the outfit from the animated film or the live action? Comment number Moana so we can meet you. When the camera gets close to the princess, we can see she's wearing a necklace identical to the one in the animation. This necklace is the gift her grandmother gave her, and inside it is the heart of Te Fiti. The only difference is that in the animated movie, the pearls are white, but in the live action, they're darker. A super cool moment in this trailer happens right at the beginning. Maui bursts out of the ocean in eagle form and makes an arched flight around the island of Motunui. Everyone knows this is a reference to the classic opening of Disney movies. The difference is that in the usual studio opening, the flight maneuver is done by Tinkerbell over Cinderella's castle, but this time, it's the demigod circling Moana's island. A moment later, we see Moana standing on top of Motunui's mountain, where the stack of stones from the island's leaders is located. She must be wondering who she truly is, and we already know who she is. Our princess is Moana. An interesting detail shows 2 birds flying far behind Moana in the sky, and it would be amazing if one of them were Maui. But that's just a theory, because this scene is probably from the beginning of the movie, and the demigod is likely still trapped trapped on an island. One of the most emotional scenes in the trailer shows Moana's people sailing across the ocean beside whales. This is definitely the scene where the princess discovers that her people were once ocean voyagers before Maui stole the heart of Te Fiti. One of the coolest scenes in the trailer shows Moana's boat being attacked by the giant Kakamora ship, and this scene is practically identical to the animated version. This moment will be extremely fun to watch in the live-action movie. We also get a bit of the moment when the protagonist tries to escape from the Kakamora ship, and these characters look absolutely perfect in the real world. Still talking about the Kakamora, it looks like this time they will be a little different from the original animated movie. Everyone who knows the animation remembers they are dwarf pirates who hide inside coconut shells. But in the live action, it looks like they're going to be furry creatures instead of people wearing costumes. We know they're wearing costumes in the animated film because the art book shows what the Kakamora look like inside the coconut, and they're just very tiny people. At a certain moment, we can see Moana's hand inside the water. This might be the scene where the heroine learns to sail with Maui, and he makes her feel the warm current. That current actually is his pee, but our princess is going to find that out in the most disgusting way possible.
And if you're not subscribed yet, you know what to do. Click and hit the bell so you don't miss any videos.
If you pay close attention to Maui in eagle form, you'll notice he looks like a regular bird, and some fans think that's normal. But it's not quite like that. This is an important decision Disney has to make. In the animated movie, the animals Maui transforms into have faces and expressions like a human, but if in the live action he looks like a regular animal, then the visual effects will be very different from the original movie. Will fans like that? But something that might help with that is the rooster Hei. He's a pet that needs to be fully created with CGI, which is why we believe there will be a difference between regular animals and the ones that matter to the story. The scene where Hei appears screaming is exactly like the animated version, when he realizes he's in the middle of the ocean. Moana does the same thing in both scenes and puts a coconut bowl on the bird's head. Maybe the visual style around Maui will stay similar to the animated movie. What do you think about that? An emotional scene in the trailer is when we see Moana picking up the staffs and discovering that her people were sailors in the past. And a beautiful musical number is going to begin in this scene. The scene that appears right after shows three characters you know very well. In this moment, we see Moana's mother, the princess's father, and Moana herself facing away from the camera. And no, Moana and her father are not blonde. What they're wearing on their heads is the royal crown of Motunui. The same crown appears in the animated movie when her father teaches her about the responsibility she must fulfill for their people. This scene in the movie shows the princess being presented to the island, but that's not what Moana wants. She wants to be free and travel across the ocean. And a super interesting detail is that in the trailer we see the sail of her boat, and on it there's a spiral drawing shaped like the heart of Te Fiti, and that's a very cool reference that also exists in the animated movie. Moana's heart is connected to the ocean. Near the end of the trailer, we see Maui holding the heart of Te Fiti right after he stole it, and we can already see the island being destroyed as it begins turning into Te Kā, the great monster of the ocean. Will the evil version of the goddess of life scare the fans? Probably yes. In that same scene, when Maui jumps from the island toward the sea, we can see that his power comes from the hook, which is why this character always says that without his weapon, he is nothing. Good thing Moana is there to tell him that isn't true, but we will only discover the truth on July 10th, 2026, the day the movie premieres in theaters, but don't worry, it's almost over. But until then, you can stay with us. There are two super fun videos waiting for you. Thanks, and see you next time.